Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, The Courageous Walk. My name is John L. Reynolds, and today I will be talking about discerning genuine supporters in your life. Many of us have experienced, whether we're in our family context, in our friendships, on our jobs, and any other social situation, where there are people who are very negative, they're naysayers, highly pessimistic, always has a criticism, they are fault finders, and in today's colloquialism we call them haters. And so I thought I would spend some time sort of discussing what are the things that you should be looking for to be able to differentiate who is really for you and who is against you, how to differentiate between those who are smiling with you and genuinely are happy for you and those that are smiling with you, but on the inside, they have jealousy, envy, and are wishing you ill. So one of the first things that I want you to think about is, depending on the context, if you are receiving any kind of feedback. So I want you to differentiate the feedback that you're getting. You have to really parse out what is constructive feedback or constructive criticism versus that is steeped in jealousy and ill will. So when you think about the comments, when you think about the advice, I want you to really pay attention to, is it coming from a place that has your best interest in mind? So for example, if someone tells you that maybe you should take an additional master class or do an extra session, or they give you a particular book that they want you to read because they know that you're in a space of learning, it's not a criticism necessarily, but not only are they saying, I think you can advance what you're doing, but here are some tools I would recommend. So it's not just bashing for no reason or being critical, but really you can see that they want you to thrive and to do well. And they're also providing you with tools to do so. And, if you have had multiple experiences with this person, then you can judge whether this person genuinely wants you to succeed or not based on past experiences. So, there's a track record. Is this person with you in your highs and lows, or are they only there with you when you're succeeding? Is their advice intended to take you to the next level? If it is not, and it's just merely empty words, then that is not constructive feedback. Is the advice or are the comments thoughtful? Can you tell that they've spent some time really thinking about what it is that they're going to share with you? So not only is it helpful, but they've done some work to really think about, different, like for example, on social media, if you have certain people that are giving you feedback, have they been thoughtful about the different audiences that might be paying attention to what you have to say, and their feedback is really around, well, I think what you said really talked to this target audience, but I'm guessing there are other types of people that are listening and that might need more clarity on this aspect of the topic. Now that is very thoughtful because they're going beyond what your original intention was. As I've said in my first video, my original intention was to focus on women, but I have men that are also following and paying attention to my videos. There are all sorts of people, and the age range has even extended from my original intention. So I wonder, so the feedback that you're getting is extending and advancing what you originally intended, which is a good thing. And, have they prefaced their comments or their advice with some sort of explanation so that you can understand their motivation and intention? So for example, I have a relatively new boss, and, we've had quite a few weeks to get to know each other. And it has been established that his intention is for me to grow, thrive, and to really grow into my own in terms of this job. And, had a very clear conversation about how he plans to help me on my own professional advancement. So that has already been established. So recently he was about to give me some feedback, and he was jumping into this preface about, his intentions. And I said, no need to preface your advice. Just tell me what it is, because I already know where he's coming from. So there's no reason for me to judge or consider where this advice is coming from, because I already know what his intentions are, because we've established that from the beginning of our getting to know each other. But some people, because you may not have had those types of conversations, it is important for them to preface what they're going to say, giving you clear intentions of, where it's coming from. Not the kind of advice where, people say, I don't mean to be rude, and then proceed to be rude. Not that kind of advice, but simply, I really want, the advice I'm about to give you is so that you can begin to move beyond some of your blind spots where, you've been trained to work with this type of person, but I want to challenge you to think about these types of people that you're likely going to be dealing with, so that the advice that you're given, the resources that you're providing are thoughtful, holistic, and they are stretching you beyond your comfort zone. So that's very different than, I don't mean to be rude, and then I proceed to be rude. Or I don't want to be negative, and then the person proceeds to be negative. The other thing to pay attention to, this person who is, who's making the comments or giving the advice, are they expecting you to do whatever they say? And do they get upset if you don't follow their advice? So someone who genuinely is your supporter is going to give you feedback and leave it up to you to decide what you do with that feedback. And if you don't follow it, they're fine with that too, because it's not about trying to control you or to take over the process. It's about giving you enough tools and other perspectives to consider in your process. Now, it's up to you then to decide whether, based on the history with that person, the direction that you're going, perhaps that person does not fully understand your full vision, and they only know about a part of it, and so their advice is just based on that part. But really, I think, as long as they're not pressuring you to do what they say, then at least you're in the right direction, that they are just genuinely happy for you and are excited and sharing feedback and not trying to control you. And the thing is that, not everybody has to fully understand your vision. Not everyone has to fully understand your plans or all of the factors that played into your decision. And so as you're listening to the advice and listening to the comments and the feedback, think about all of that. Think about the context of, from where they're coming from. If it's someone who is in the field and is an expert in the area that they're talking about, that's very different, because they may have already been considering factors that you may not have, versus someone who doesn't have any sort of expertise in the area and they're just paying attention. They're bringing an entirely different perspective. And you may have already considered that, but it's important to acknowledge it, thank them, and then you go about your business. Characteristics of fault finders, those who are super negative and do not have your best interest at heart. A lot of what they're telling you is really self-centered. So there's a lot of, how I would do it. If I were you, I would do such and such and such. I wouldn't really do that. I don't think there's a lot of focus on their rationale, their level of comfort, their perception of the world, their thoughts on how things should be done. And there is no sense that they have paused long enough to consider your experiences, your vision, your plans, your decision making, your particular context. Because a lot of times when we're giving advice, it is just heavily based on what we think is important. We're not often thinking about the other person. And so, for example, as a single woman giving advice to friends and family who have children, it's very important for me to always keep their context at the forefront of my mind so that what I'm saying matches that, as opposed to what would work for me. So, people always talk about self-care, which is amazing that you have self-care. But what I, as a single woman, can do for self-care, on Saturdays, I typically just completely relax. I unplug. I do not talk to other people. And I just spend that time quiet, doing things that I love. Now, someone with a partner or with children, particularly small children, that is not that is not an appropriate suggestion. It does not work because, first of all, even going to the bathroom requires a fight to have privacy. So there's no way you can take an entire day and say, you know what, I'm not talking to any of you. I'm going to neglect you all or ignore you all. It's not it doesn't mesh. So you can really tell from some people's advice, feedback, and fault finding the motivation behind where they're coming from, because they're so focused on themselves, what they would have done or what they did when they were in a similar context, and there's no appreciation, no consideration for your current situation. There's also, they haven't really given you the benefit of doubt that you have done your research, that you have been thoughtful about this. It's almost as if they assume that you woke up that morning and made a rash decision, and now they're coming in to fix it. So, many of us are fixers, and our go-to is to fix problems. And you really have to pause and remember that it's, unless someone has asked you to fix their situation, then just stop. So let's see what else. The other thing that you could consider is silence. A lack of acknowledgement for the things that you're doing. So, they're the more vocal people who let you know their thoughts and feelings. And then there are those who are in your inner circle, in your family, that have not acknowledged any of the things that you're doing. They're aware of it because you have shared it with them. You have made sure that they're aware, but they have not acknowledged what you're doing. They have said neither positive or negative, but they're generally vocal on many things, but for some reason they're silent on this. And so, silence is also a form of communication. So, you need to keep that in mind and think about the context for those people. Like, why is it that they're suddenly silent? Is it because, they're not feeling what you're doing? Or do they have other things going on in their life that has made what you're doing not a priority? Because it could also be that. And then there are some people who are happy for you until you actually start succeeding. They're there with you when you're in the struggle. And, they're like, yes, because you're all at the same level. But the moment you exceed their expectations of you, for you, then you see a different side. The comments change from, being happy and enthusiastic to more negative, more critiquing, more fault finding, dropping comments about how you've changed. All of those types of things are, symptoms or characteristics of people who they don't genuinely have your back. And these are some of the same people that are, they're likely to gossip behind your back. They're gossiping about you. They're talking about you. They have opinions and they're telling anyone they can about you. In fact, most of their conversation is about you. So those are some of the characteristics to sort of think about to help you differentiate between those that are genuinely for you and those that are against you. Things that you have to do when you're making decisions that are in the best interest for you, for your future, for your destiny, your purpose. So more than ever, it's important to use wisdom and discernment in everything that you do. I take that from a very biblical, spiritual perspective, but those words do have meaning outside of that, right? It's important for you to be wise. It's important for you to be paying attention to the cues that people are giving off, to differentiate between good and bad. So, use wisdom and discernment in who you are sharing your dreams and wishes with. So as you're in the planning stage, as you are thinking about what next for your life, as you are, thinking about new things to explore, to try. It could be, vying for a promotion at your work. It could be trying something entirely different. It could be something as simple as going back to school. It could be becoming a foster mom or adopting a child. It could be that you've decided that, you want to have a child and you haven't found a partner, so you're going to go ahead and have fertilization treatments, IVF treatments, so that you can have a child. Some people might decide to leave their jobs. Others might decide to leave the country. There are all kinds of situations. Some might decide to get a divorce and to leave their marriage after 20 plus years. People are making decisions all the time. And there's always going to be people who have opinions as to what that should look like. So when you're using discernment and wisdom, that really has to do with who you are telling your business to. Not everyone needs to know what you're going to do. There's some people that need to find that out after the decision is made. And at that point, their opinion matters not. And so, there's a quote that says, when you build in silence, people don't know what to attack. So use wisdom and discernment when you are, in deciphering who to tell your business to. And, really that comes around to, do not expect everyone to be on board with your plans. We get so excited and enthusiastic about the things that we're going to do. And we expect everyone else to be as excited as we are. But the reality is, there is no way that every single person that you know is going to be on board. If you're on social media or you're in a public platform, whatever that looks like, or in a position of leadership, you're going to make decisions that are going to upset people. Whether those decisions directly impact them or not, they're going to have opinions and they're going to be upset with you and, for whatever reason. And so if you start out not expecting everyone to be on board with your decisions, then you're not going to be shocked or surprised by some of the feedback, but rather you're going to focus on the people that genuinely have your back. So, which leads me into number 3, surround yourself with wise counselors from all contexts to keep you grounded. So you need the tried and true people who have been around for some time, who have shown you with their words and deeds that they genuinely have your back, that they genuinely have your best interests at heart. And you need them for a different context, because wise counsel you need to have people that are in the context that you're getting advice about. So if you are working in the corporate world, you cannot just have wise counselors that have no understanding of the corporate world, because there are going to be nuances to those experiences in the corporate world that will require someone who's actually experienced it. So your wise counselors need to be mixed. You know, if you are a spiritual person, you need spiritual counselors, right? You need people who understand that part, that can make sure that that are holding you accountable, that are giving you advice that is in line with your belief system. And then you need to have wise counselors that can keep you grounded, it can keep you on the right path within the context that you're seeking the advice on. And so, you need to use wisdom and discernment in terms of who you're telling what and when. You need to have wise counselors from all contexts. You need to expect that there are going to be people who do not have your best interests at heart, and so will be negative about the plans that you have for yourself and your future. And this other thing that I remember growing up with, we talked about, do not be fooled. Not everyone who smiles with you is your friend. Not everyone who smiles with you is your friend. How many of us, have been in context with people who, I have that experience multiple times, especially in my context, where there are people who are, when they see you, they want to hug and kiss you, and there's this level of enthusiasm to your face. But the moment you're out of the room, it is as if that person has disappeared and you suddenly become the enemy. And so it is very important for you to not be fooled by the smiles. It is very important for you to not be fooled by the, I've got your back, I want you to succeed. The empty words, the empty actions, which is why it's so important for, in the context that you're in, to have friendships and to have wise counselors, because even though you may not be hearing, and able to differentiate or decipher or discern people's motives, there are other people in the context that can help you. And of course, if you're new to an environment, it will take you time to be able to discern who is for you and who is against you. And for some of us, it may take longer. Others of us who are great judges of character, it might come easier. And so, don't be fooled. And we have all been fooled. We have all been fooled one time or the other, and have dealt with the consequences of that. And then, of course, be humble. Just be humble. People are fickle. So, the people that are for you today, and they could genuinely be for you today, you can make one mistake and tomorrow they hate you. They completely forget how much they liked you, how much in support of you. They're against you. So be humble. If you stay humble, then it's a lot, the fall, if you make a mistake, the fall isn't that far. It will be a lot easier for you to pick yourself up, dust off yourself, and try again. But if you lose humility on your journey, when you fall because of a mistake, it's going to be a mighty hard fall. And it's likely to be very difficult to get up and start again. So again, use wisdom and discernment in who you're sharing your dreams, your plans, your desires, your visions with. Surround yourself by wise counselors from the different contexts of your life. Don't expect everyone to be on board with your plans. Don't be fooled. Not everyone who smiles with you is your friend. And be humble. Be humble. So those are my 5 tips of how you should live your life, especially in social contexts where you cannot control the people around you. We all have haters. We all have jealous, envious people. We all have naysayers in our lives. We all have fault finders. But that does not mean that we cannot proceed, that we cannot succeed, that we cannot thrive, and we cannot live life to the fullest because of these people. We just have to be wise, discerning in how we navigate those waters. Do not be fooled. Do not expect everyone to like you. Do not be naive. Be wise. Be true to yourself. Have wise counsel. So, thank you for watching. If you have been enjoying my videos or if this is your first video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss future uploads. And I will see you next time. Have a great week.